I'm Anneke. I'm an artist and musician. I have a background in pop music, and this really kind of informs the way that I work as an artist. For a long time, I was involved in making kind of experimental electronic music before I came to more of a kind of expanded practice. And I think kind of music is the way that I encounter the world, the way that I think about the world. And so it was important for me to kind of bring some of these experiences into the context of art, to think about popular music not only from a kind of the perspective of kind of pleasure and enjoyment, but also thinking about popular music as like a potentially critical art form, an art form that kind of can have like a critical relationship to the world that produced it. Okay, so the exhibition is called An Endless Archive. There are 7 works on display, a video that centres itself around the history of the Baby G watch, a series of artworks that take the form of like ready-made products or commodities. For example, there's a work called Interiors that consists of a 1989 Polly Pocket townhouse. So I'm interested in the kind of formation of historical kind of models of childhood or adolescent subjectivity, and kind of thinking historically about the creation of some of these like particular models of subjectivity. There's another work called If It Was Now, It Was Also Then. Sometimes vocabulary runs through my head, which consists of Now That's What I Call Music 1989 CD. So again, I'm using these kind of objects of popular culture as a way of kind of thinking about the history of popular music. And the history is kind of inscribed in these like very, very everyday products. I'm also interested in how an engagement with these products not only kind of brings these kind of histories into the present, but also like inverts or remixes or versions some of these histories. So these histories can be kind of unmade through like participation. So for example, there's another work which consists of a white realistic Walkman from the early 90s. This work is called Vistas. So I'm interested in the Walkman both as something kind of which like accompanies you as you kind of move through space, public space, both in terms of like the way in which it creates like a sort of individualized space. You know, you're like brought into the world of a song through headphones, but also the ways in which this kind of connects up to like broader kind of context, the kind of history of capitalism that sort of underpins the object. So Deadstock is an artwork that consists of 36 poker chips, each of which was manufactured using vinyl deadstock from my own personal archive. Each chip corresponds to one song on a playlist. So the playlist is also part of the artwork. Viewers of the work can access the playlist whilst they kind of engage with the poker chips themselves. So it's kind of this idea of like bringing these like multiple ways of kind of distributing the artwork across like digital and also physical means. I'm also interested in like questions of like investment and commitment. And so there's this idea of like bringing my own personal history into the context of the work. The songs on the playlist are also like songs that either have a personal significance to me or some kind of historical significance. So they kind of map or trace out a kind of a history, be that personal, but also more like a kind of global history of kind of popular music and its circulation. So this exhibition's like kind of central artwork is a video. It's called Baby G, and it centers itself around the kind of histories of timekeeping embodied within the Baby G watch. It's like a digital watch that was introduced in 1994. So again, there's this question of kind of the way in which these objects speak to particular historical moments in time. So in producing the video, I commissioned my partner to write a text according to a very strict set of criteria. I gave him the kind of historical narrative that I wanted the text to explore, and made a few suggestions about how he should go about writing this history. From this kind of commission, he produced a text. I then used this text as the kind of central script for the film. Outsourcing the production of this text was important to me because I wanted to think about ways in which music kind of undermines the singularity of language. So it's not about kind of conveying a strict history to the viewer that is then kind of just received. It's very much, I wanted to kind of think about how I would then set this text within the context of a film. So I worked with, again, 3 other friends to help me realize this work. This was partly to do with kind of constraints around money, but also because I think it's really important as an artist to kind of make visible some of the contingencies upon which like the production of an individual work of art in fact rests, be that kind of like intellectual contingencies or emotional ones. These are friends with whom I've had many conversations about my work. And so I wanted to really bring them into the context of the video. In realizing the soundtrack, I developed like a syntax for how I wanted the text to be read. This was quite a precise syntax. There was a kind of rhythm that I wanted to be foregrounded. That's the kind of center of the film, this rhythm that I perform with my voice. I then taught this kind of way of reading to 2 performers, both of whom I know. And so what you hear in the video is 3 voices all performing the same script with a kind of exactly the same rhythm or meter.
All movements in space are movements in time. She knew that watches were also being developed by Casio, where the minimal clock drift of even a quartz chronometer could be corrected by radio signals. Though she couldn't have known that the first G-Shock watch to have this feature would be released in 2008.
So in order to kind of make part of this process of production visible, I created another work which attempts to kind of bring the viewer into some of this kind of method of production. So that is a printed work with a series of annotations. That work is called a commission. And it consists of these very clear line breaks. And those line breaks correspond to the line breaks that I included in my kind of original reading of the script. One of the threads that kind of connects all of this work in this exhibition is the artistic form known as the music video. So I'm interested in music video, the way in which music video brings together both sound and image, but also product or commodity into its form. So it exists across these multiple elements. This is like a kind of theory of music video that I've been developing over the past few years. So all of the work that I'm making as an artist tries to kind of unpick some of these kind of the different ways in which these elements are brought together in individual music videos. So the question of how music in the present circulates through the form of visual images is really important. Music is not only like a sonic form in the present, it also has an image. The image is the thing that it kind of moves through. So I'm interested in kind of thinking both critically and also just exploring this kind of set of configurations, like these individual configurations between these elements that in given music videos.